So, youth and moral panics. Main points of the argument. I think one major point of youth and moral panics is stereotyping, because throughout many situations that we see usually the older generation looking at a younger generation and saying, well, you guys are doing this, which makes you this, which makes you bad. For example, in the 90s, when grunge rock was coming out, and the whole Kurt Cobain thing, people really disapproved of kids who listened to Nirvana and, Pearl Jam, and, even before that, the Grateful Dead and Guns N' Roses, that whole thing, Jimi Hendrix, the whole rock and roll scene. And even now, it's the same thing with rap. The older generation does not like rap at all. And it's a whole stereotype, the kids that listen to rap, do drugs, are bad kids, don't do well in school, and are going to go nowhere in life. And this causes a moral panic, and it causes I guess, the older people to say, where is our country going? Where are we headed as a country? And I guess the moral panic stems from the fact that the youth is going to be the leaders of the country, and they think that just because some of us listen to these types of music and do certain types of things, that maybe we're all like this, but they seem to forget that we're all pretty diverse, and that we're pretty smart, and they used to be kids too, and look what happened to them. So everybody's got to grow up sometime. And I feel like a really good example is in the movie WALL-E. And not saying that this won't happen, or maybe it will, because we're headed in that direction, because we are destroying the earth. But when it shows all the overweight people in their chairs, and all the robots are doing everything for them and everything like that, how do we know that we're going to end up like that? Because maybe the youth is so scared of ending up like that we won't. So that is my selected particular form of moral panic. Is, are we destroying our own world through consumerism? Just like in WALL-E, are we? What does it say about moral panics? I think the people at Pixar are genius for turning that into a children's movie, because of course parents are going to take their children to see that, and children are too young to realize the larger picture, because they're going to see a robot in space and say, oh, robot space, yay, robot space. But older adults are going to be like, oh my god, like, this is real, this is actually our world and what it could possibly become. And that's what it constitutes as a threat to our society is that it's very real. That whole thing with all the satellites that are around the planet and, colliding with each other in the atmosphere. And there's so much trash on the planet that we have to leave and just all that crazy stuff. But, in the end of the movie, they get to come back. So, and so you don't know. Like, you don't know. Let's see how young people are impacted. Well, I guess I talked about that. Young people are impacted because we are the future. And basically, whenever movies are made or anything about the future, like WALL-E, people are saying that it's us that is going to make that happen. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute. Let's slow down a little bit. What if we're scared of that happening? Like I said, what if we're scared of that happening? And what if we're so scared of that happening that we're going to make it not happen? So, but see, there's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing. So they can't say that it will or won't. And that's why those people at Pixar are geniuses, because they're betting on the fact that none of us know. But they're also taking pretty good chances on the fact of that we are a big consumer society, and that the odds are leaning against the fact that those things probably will happen if we keep going the way that we are. So, what would the class materials say about the example I selected? I would say standardization shows up a lot in the video clip from WALL-E, because it shows how there's an ad for all the red jumpsuits that they're all wearing, and then it switches and it says try blue, and then everyone just like presses a button and now they're all wearing blue, but it's the same jumpsuit except it's blue. So it's just the idea that everyone has their own choice, which is kind of our downfall, because everyone's like, yeah, I have choices, and they're like, oh yeah, now I want that one, I'm gonna throw this one away. So it's just adding to all the trash that we have, and not adding to the destruction of the planet, and not making a good environment for our future, which does suck, but we can do something about it. And I think that's what people don't realize, is that there are people that are aware of it. Yeah, we're not all completely stupid. We're not all completely like, oh. And people think that the youth are so wrapped up in their technology, and all of our technology does everything for us, and like, yeah, I mean, it does a lot, but we, like, 18 and 19-year-olds now, I mean, we still had to grow up in a time where computers were like just coming out too. And I realized that we do have a lot of technology now, but imagine like kids that are growing up now, like kids that are like in kindergarten now. Imagine what their world's going to be like when they're 18, 19. That's going to be some crazy stuff. So just appreciate the real world and what you know, and be sure to pass it on, because it is important.